So my background is actually I have a major in civil engineering from BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus,
Mhm.
and with a minor in finance course. And I graduated in 2020, and since then I've been working with JP Morgan Chase as
Yeah.
a market risk analyst for last 3 years. We went through section-wise training. For
Yes.
example, for verbal, we first gave some tests to gauge my current level,
Yeah.
and we worked on the parts which were lagging. I think the meaning-based approach and the way the e-GMAT actually simplifies the approach to the
Mhm.
sentence correction that helped a lot. In CR,
Right.
I think the pre-thinking, yeah, that's that's a game changer because you
Mhm.
already know what you'll be looking for in the options. The 760 which I scored recently was not
Mhm.
the 20 days preparation, it was that 3 to 4 months which I did in the beginning. When I
Mhm.
first joined the eGMAT, I rarely believed that I will
Mhm.
be achieving this. But yeah, thanks to your mentorship and the eGMAT course program, this has been quite a successful journey for me.
Hello and welcome everyone to another debrief session of e-GMAT. Today we welcome Spandan Patnaik, a 760 scorer in the GMAT exam. Welcome Spandan. How are you feeling after such a success in the GMAT exam?
First of all, hi Akash. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I feel really elated given the 760 is like quite a high score. And when I
Mhm.
first joined the eGMAT, I rarely believed that I will
Mhm.
be achieving this. But yeah, thanks to your mentorship and the eGMAT course program, this has been quite a successful journey for me.
Yeah, what a journey it has been. And what was your feeling when the score first popped up on your screen at that very moment?
To be honest, like while giving the exam in the verbal section, I was confident at first, but like as the level of questions started increasing, I was like doubting myself. But
Mm-hmm.
I kept in mind the meaning-based approach for sentence correction and the pre-thinking for CR, and just went
Mm-hmm.
with the best option which I felt would be right. And I think that really paid off. And in
Mm-hmm.
maths, I think maths was relatively easier for me given my engineering background.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Right.
on the whole, I think the score in verbal really helped boost my overall score.
So, like, what did you first do when you saw the score on your screen, like flashing 760 on your
Uh,
face?
yeah, I was kind of just double checked once again, like was I seeing the number correct? But yeah, and
Definitely.
then
Well,
once that was done, I just settled, yeah, fine. This is done.
yeah, what a journey it has been. And before we actually get on to your journey, and why not you just discuss a little bit about what you do, so that our viewers can get to know about your profile and your background.
Sure, sure. So my background is actually I have a major in civil engineering from BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus,
Mhm.
and with a minor in finance course. And I graduated in 2020, and since then I've been working with JP Morgan Chase as
Yeah.
a market risk analyst for last 3 years.
Mhm.
And yeah, so given that I had chosen to given GMAT as a next step to success. I mean,
Mhm.
GMAT really does open up a lot of business school opportunities for me. And I think the general in which I've talked to people, most of them
Mhm.
mentioned like, given that I'm working in such a prestigious company,
Mhm.
next step to success, I think will be from a B school degree
Yeah.
from outside. Yeah.
Yes. And when was the first time like you thought about, okay, let's go ahead and give the MBA, and for that, let's first go ahead and give the GMAT exam.
I think it was around 6 months back.
Okay.
So when I first thought of, I think it's time to seriously start
Mhm.
pursuing uh, this thing. So yeah, since then,
Right.
like I have talked to a few of my friends, and first of all, I thought like I could like crack this on my own.
Mhm.
So I went ahead and gave that, but it wasn't that successful, I would say. And then
Okay.
yeah, one of my friends suggested like go to eGMAT. I think
Mhm.
he is currently is ISB now. Even I think he's 750 scorer.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
So yeah, his advice and few other circumstances helped me point way to eGMAT.
Yeah, a piece of advice from your friend and who has already been there and already succeeded in the GMAT exam. So it's
Yeah.
definitely worth listening to him. And so before like joining us, okay, what kind of research you did like regarding the kind of schools you want to get into, regarding the programs you want to get into, or regarding like what was your thought about the test preparation company you were looking for?
Initially, I was not so keen on the different programs or colleges. I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get a good score and then decide like which college I'll
Okay.
be applying to. So for
Mm-hmm.
preparation, I think initially I had few of the materials from Manhattan. One of my friends had.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was all, I guess. Yeah, no other source, uh, no other source of preparation, and I think
Yeah.
I did the best with what I could given at that point of time. And I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
like, given I read a lot of books, I thought my verbal would be quite good, but there were few
Mm-hmm.
things which needed tweaking.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, which eGMAT helped improve, obviously, in later
Yes.
stages.
Yes. So you basically just thought that let's first succeed in the GMAT exam, and then you'll get
Correct.
into your applications mode and
Yeah.
right. Perfect. Perfect. So now that you have got the 760, have you already started your research regarding the B schools, or it will be starting later on, or right now you're just in the celebration mood?
I was in celebratory mood since last 1 or 2 days, but yeah, I think it's high time I should start researching as well.
Okay, perfect. So let's get right into your GMAT journey. Okay, that what our viewers are here for, how they can actually get improve their score and reach to the level of 750s and 16 like you did, right? And you just didn't score 760 in the GMAT, but that was with a Q50 and a V44. A V44 is like a 98th percentile in the verbal itself, which is a very rare score, being that you're one of the non-native speakers, right? So, what exactly have been your approach in the verbal? So, when you started the preparation for the GMAT exam.
Yeah. So I think my journey could be divided into two phases, post and pre eGMAT.
Mm-hmm.
So pre-GMAT, I was confident on my reading skills in the comprehension because I do read a lot of books and a lot of them are not so easy. I mean, most of them are classics. I think
Mm-hmm.
that helped boost my comprehension to a major degree. And sentence correction, I again relied a lot on Manhattan Prep books. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing was that they delved way too deeply into concepts which were not that important,
Okay.
and there was no importance given to the meaning in sentence correction.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to CR, I think I did not prepare that much. I just went into it blindly.
Yeah.
But yeah, post that, I think after I took on like the eGMAT course,
Mm-hmm.
I think the major improvement I could see was in sentence correction.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of my quizzes towards the end of the preparation
Mm-hmm.
were near 90%, which is expected if you want, like if anyone wants a V44 score.
Yeah.
So I think the meaning-based approach and the way the eGMAT actually simplifies the approach to
Mm-hmm.
the sentence correction, that helped a lot. In CR,
Right.
I think the pre-thinking, yeah, that's that's a game changer because you
Mm-hmm.
already know what you'll be looking for in the options.
Right.
And I think reading comprehension, not
Mm-hmm.
that much improvement, but yeah, I think for anyone who is struggling at the se- reading comprehension, he can definitely
Mm-hmm.
benefit from the course.
Right.
It's well segmented.
Yes, I do remember our first conversation when you started. I asked you, "Are you an avid reader or not?" And you said, "Yes, I am." But I then asked you to like
Mhm.
change your reading,
Yes.
like styles, like whatever you're reading, just leave them and start reading something else. So why don't you talk something that what you started reading after you started preparing for the GMAT exam?
Yeah, so one thing, yeah, which you highlighted that the actual reading of the novels and reading of and the reading comprehension which comes in the eGMAT, it's
Yeah.
quite different.
Mm-hmm.
So for the eGMAT, they mostly they mostly source their materials from a lot of
Mm-hmm.
journals,
Mm-hmm.
be it research journals or finance journals and all. So I think
Right.
if you have access to those
Mm-hmm.
journals, it will be very much helpful. Or one thing which I did was during my last days of preparation, I actually went to the GMAT club and
Mm-hmm.
just did one passage each day
Mm-hmm.
from the hard level questions. So thing was
Mm-hmm.
that I did not want to exhaust the question pool which
Mm-hmm.
eGMAT had because you obviously laid out a very detailed
Yeah.
plan for it, and I did
Mm-hmm.
not want to squander any of that. So yeah, I think doing one paragraph each day will really help you to get into the groove and
Right.
do the questions in a faster pace.
Right. Right. Perfect. So this was your second attempt, 760, but not with a very big gap in between. Your first
Right.
attempt was just a few days ago on the 5th of April, wherein you scored a 710, right? So let's first talk about that particular exam, that how you prepared to reach till the 710 level. So you joined us somewhere in the month of like December 2022.
Right.
So there were about 4 months of preparation in between, wherein then you went ahead for your first attempt, right? So in those 4 months, what was exactly your approach? So how were you preparing actually?
Yeah. So one thing is that for the GMAT, one has to be really consistent with the time he gives to this preparation.
Hmm.
It's not that hard, but it does demand time because you need to
Right.
speed up your comprehension. For example, even the sentence correction, like entire verbal section, you have to
Hmm.
read it fast and
Hmm.
understand it, not just read it.
Right.
So that part, if you devote a lot of time to it, that does pay off.
Hmm.
And the initial days, I think, when after joining eGMAT, I think we went through section-wise training. For example,
Yes.
for verbal, we first gave some tests to gauge my current level,
Yeah.
and we worked on the parts which were lagging. So I
Hmm.
think that approach really helped because I could be
Yes.
easy on the parts which were not that difficult, but the ones
Right.
which were lacking, I could really ramp up those.
Yes.
And verbal also, I think, yeah, it's mostly the game of speed. Like
Hmm.
uh, the questions which come, they are usually 9/10th
Hmm.
standard level.
Hmm.
But if we are not able to solve it faster, then that's no point. So yeah,
Right.
so key thing is to devote like consistently
Hmm.
2 to 2.5 hours per day. And this
Yeah.
was in the weekdays when I was working.
Hmm.
And on the weekends, yeah, just ramp it up. That was my approach.
Yes. So I do remember that we first went on to use the analytics, wherein you gave a
Yeah.
few of the litmus tests, and therein we got to know what exactly are your weaker areas, and then we just targeted all of those weaker areas, one after the other. And what about quant? So you were already good in the quant, as you just said, because of your engineering background. So how were you keeping up with the pace in the quant?
Yes, I think for quant, I think initially I
Hmm.
struggled with number properties a bit because that was something a bit alien. Because the
Hmm.
last time I did that was in 12th class when I was preparing for my GE.
Hmm.
So given that gap, I was struggling a bit there. But overall, I think the key to it is that just keep practicing. Nothing, there's no golden rule. Just keep practicing. I think
Right.
once the concepts are very basics are clear, I think it's up to like how much you can practice. Just to like do every question under 2 minutes.
Right. And you were fairly consistent in your journey in the quant as well. You never took it lightly. I still
Yes.
remember that in every 2 to 3 days, you were constantly giving like a longer quiz, like a 15 to 20 questions quiz, covering all the
Yes.
subsections over there. And so, how important do you think is like the review of all those attempts in between? Like, since you were already somewhere about Q49, Q50 kind of levels in the board. So, what was your approach while reviewing those quizzes?
So, yeah, it was like fairly simple. Like, don't repeat the
Mm-hmm.
mistakes which you have done once. I think
Mm-hmm.
that the error log which you have mentioned that did help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So all the questions which I was getting wrong, maybe like due
Mm-hmm.
to time constraints or due to inability to solve them in the given time. So
Mm-hmm.
all those questions I just noted down, and as the list of those questions grew on, the
Mm-hmm.
score was actually improving because I noted that some of the mistakes which I was
Yeah.
doing, they were repetitive in nature. So I was able to eliminate that repetitive nature. And once
Mm-hmm.
in a while, if some question comes up, so yeah, we just have to deal with it. Just leave that question if you think it takes more than 3 to 4 minutes.
Right. So that was great. And once you've got that 710, we all knew that you had the potential to score even higher. So that's why I kept on saying that, yes, you should give another attempt because you do have that potential. Also, I do remember that your first attempt was also kind of jeopardized a little bit because you were kind of shifting your base as
Cities, yeah.
well from Bombay to Hyderabad. So do you think that that played a part as well in your journey?
I think that played a huge part, to be honest, because
Yeah.
the 760 which I scored recently was
Mm-hmm.
not the 20 days preparation. It was that 3 to 4 months, which I did in the beginning. And
Yeah.
so the first attempt for the GMAT, which I gave, in which I scored 710, so that was
Mm-hmm.
jeopardized quite a lot because I was shifting bases, and also like some of my deposit money was stuck with the landlord and he was not playing
Mm-hmm.
game.
Yeah.
So, and also a few other family tensions and all. So
Yes.
I was not in the best of my moods when I gave the first
Yes.
attempt.
Yeah, definitely. You were tired and you were not really in the correct mindset as well. And
Yeah,
those two are the essentials of the GMAT exam. You really have to
agree.
be in a very fresh and calm mind, which you were in this particular attempt.
Yeah, because once like everything was sorted, I thought
Mm-hmm.
just let's give it another try, whatever the result may be, that's fine. So I gave
Yes.
it in a careless kind of mode, but I think that
Oh, okay.
is what helped.
Yeah, definitely.
No
Sometimes the
pressure.
best of the things comes with when there is no pressure at all on you.
Yes.
Right. Perfect. So, your second attempt was just like 20 days after your first attempt, right? So it was not just 20 days preparation, as you just said. It was the entire 4 months preparation of it, right? But how did you actually prepare in these 2.5 weeks as well? Like, what was your approach? Because now that you knew everything, right? It was all about maintaining that consistency for another like 2 or 3 weeks. So, what was your approach in these 2 to 3 weeks this time?
I think the approach was the same like the last three
Mm-hmm.
weeks before the first attempt. I mean, just keep giving the quizzes and the full length tests. And as and
Mm-hmm.
when you encounter that you have done something wrong, make a note of it
Mm-hmm.
and keep revisiting that error log again and again till you have
Mm-hmm.
that set in your head so that you won't repeat the mistakes again. I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, it was nothing different.
Mm-hmm.
It was fairly consistent with my previous approach. It was just
Right.
maintaining the tempo throughout.
Right. So, what was your strategy? Like, how many days you gave to the verbal, how many days you gave to the quant, and then when did you do the mocks and all?
I think after my first attempt, I just had a chat with you, and I think
Mm-hmm.
we arrived at the conclusion that CR was something which was lacking.
Yeah.
So I first attacked the CR modules
Mm-hmm.
completely, and then gave
Yeah.
a few quizzes to validate that the CR score was consistent,
Yeah.
the performance here was consistent. And I
Okay.
think within that, every 2 or 3 days, I was revising rest of the sections. I mean, rest of the quant
Mm-hmm.
and rest of the
Mm-hmm.
verbal section, which were sentence correction and comprehension,
Okay.
just to maintain the tempo. And I think once I was
Mm-hmm.
confident that my CR is at par with the other
Mm-hmm.
sections, and then I started giving the full length quizzes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so let's talk about your mocks. Okay. So, what exactly do you feel like? How important are the mocks in the GMAT preparation?
I think they do hold, I think they are the most important factor when it comes to testing your metal when you'll be actually
Mm-hmm.
giving the exam.
Yeah.
So that actually prepares your mind to sit through 2 hours of grueling session. Like after
Mm-hmm.
1 hour, if you're exhausted, you don't have time to go back. You have after 5 minutes, you have to come back again and sit. So that
Right.
really builds up your mental stamina and tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
And they give a fair idea, like even if a person is consistently performing in separate sections, but
Mm-hmm.
given the length and the length of the exam and the extent to which you'll get tired,
Mm-hmm.
many of us actually underestimate the effect of that. So mocks will give you a fairly good idea of where
Right.
you stand, and then you can just build upon that.
Right. So tell us about your strategy about the mocks. Like, how did you strategize for your mocks? Like, when were you giving it, and how were you analyzing it?
Sure. So I would keep one whole day for mocks. So even
Mm-hmm.
if the mock is just 2 hour exam, the entire process
Yeah.
is not.
Yeah.
So before the mocks, I would practice few questions
Yeah.
from the easier side of the Scholarinium question
Mm-hmm.
set which you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just to build up the group that fine, okay, this
Yeah.
will be easier now.
Like a warm up.
Warm up, yeah. And once
Mm-hmm.
that was done, I would just sit at the requisite time. And I
Mm-hmm.
usually keep the mocks at the time when I was going to give the exam,
Yeah.
so that my mind is always focused at that time.
Yes. That's
And yeah,
really important.
once the exam is done, I
Mm-hmm.
analyze the score and see which areas need more
Mm-hmm.
working on, and of
Mm-hmm.
course maintain the error log and review each and every question thoroughly, so that there is
Right.
no scope of repeating the same mistakes.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that
it's.
usually took me around, yeah,
Mhm.
2 to 3 hours entire review. So mock
Yes.
is for 2 hours and review is for another 2 to 3 hours. So it's actually five
Yes.
hours.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The review, the kind of improvement that you get from your review process is something far, far greater than what you actually get from just doing the modules or just doing a particular quiz. Yes. And while reviewing it as well, like not just the incorrect questions, but also the correct questions as well, so as to know whether are they
Yeah,
correct for the correct reasons or not. If yes, then how can you reduce your timing even further down on those questions? So
yeah,
that's really very important in the review process of that.
absolutely. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And you talked about the error logs regarding in your entire process. So how did you maintain your error logs, and what placed error logs like had place in your journey?
Yeah, they were pivotal to my preparation actually,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, because before that
Mm-hmm.
they helped me especially in sentence correction because
Mm-hmm.
before that I thought I will be good at memorizing the mistakes which I make, but clearly that was not the case. So
Yeah.
once we have that written down, it actually serves as a holy grail once you are
Right.
revising. So all
Mm-hmm.
your mistakes are right in front of you, where you went wrong, which steps you faltered. So it's right
Right.
there in front of you, and they actually are a quite they are a good reminder that which
Mm-hmm.
steps you should avoid and how to
Mm-hmm.
approach and all. So the more extensive one Serra log is, the better his chances of scoring a good verbal score.
Mm-hmm. And what was your revision strategy of your log? So once you have entered everything, you keep on entering more and more entries over there. But how did you revise your end?
I think revision was every 2 to 3 days. Every three
Okay.
days, I would just sit down for 20 to 30 minutes, just
Mm-hmm.
go through each of the questions which I think I did, like which were wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and just mentally revise the concepts which they pertain to. So that yeah, the thing is that one should revise it in 2 to 3 days frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, a lot of things one will forget, and then doing it again will take a lot of your time. So it won't be as efficient
Yeah.
as if you would have done it in a regular frequency.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Thank you so much, Spandan, for all the strategies and your sharing your entire journey with us. And so, like, before we actually leave, okay, do you have any tips for the other GMAT aspirants? Like, if they are also like stuck somewhere about 717 or even below that as well, how can they reach to the 99th percentile in the GMAT exam?
Yeah, it is nothing fancy, but I would say consistency is the key. So as long
Mm-hmm.
as you are devoting your 2 to 3 hours per day
Mm-hmm.
in in devoted manner, it's not like it's
Right.
just sitting for 2 to 3 hours, but you're actually doing something
Mm-hmm.
in those hours. I think
Mm-hmm.
one will be definitely able to achieve a score. It's not that difficult. It's just that you need to devote that much time. That's all.
Right. Did you used to like track your time as well, like in between, like how many hours you're giving to your study and where you're
Uh,
giving?
for me, it was, I think, pretty much decided because in the morning I wake up, I went to gym, and then I
Yeah,
go to office directly after that.
yeah.
And from office, I came back at around 8:30 ish, 8:30
Okay.
p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Cooked my dinner, had my dinner, and then I sat down to study.
Okay.
So, so night 10 to 12 o'clock was my time. That was my two
Okay.
hours.
Right.
So after that, I had to sleep because again, the next day starts. So
Yes.
I think, yeah, just find the slot which suits you the best and
Yes.
just grind.
Yes, definitely. That process of grinding is really very important. And analyzing, as you did, like even during your hectic life throughout the day, you managed to take out those 2 to 3 hours, and that's the consistency that is required to reach a 760 score. Uh,
Absolutely.
very well said, Spandan. Definitely. Thank you so much, Spandan, for being here and sharing your journey with the other aspirants over here. And we wish you all the very best for your college applications. And I'm sure that you're going to rock it even there as well.
Thank you, Akash. I'd like to thank you personally because you did guide me all the way through for the 4 months, and it was the strategizing which actually helped a lot.
No,
So thank
definitely.
you.
It was a pleasure being a part of your journey and discussing all those strategies with you. those time management strategies, those mock strategies as well. So it was a pleasure being part of your journey, and I'm glad that what a success that we have had over here. So thank you, Spandan.
Thank you, Akash. The feelings mutual.
Thank you. All the
Yeah.
very best.